So I just want to make sure I give credit where credit is due before anything. Now almost a year ago, I came across this guy, Greg Souders. I don't know if anybody knows that dude. He just blew my mind with a lot of his approaches. Not necessarily anything he said sounded new to me, but just the idea of how we approach practice and how we design practice. Even just people saying the word design practice to me sounded crazy. I was like, what do you mean design? Like, I'm gonna show you the technique 3 times, we're gonna drill it 3 times, and then we'll roll. Like, that's a designed practice. We really changed our methodology completely at Bodega for the last year and a half. We haven't drilled a single move in a year and a half, and I've just seen us skyrocket. More specifically, everyone I did it with was new, and it felt like we saw leaps and bounds. But then I got to work with someone like Gianni, who is already established and very elite, and we've seen new skills emerge from him using this methodology. So we're gonna do a lot of live work, so keep that in mind right now. Everything we do is full resistance. There's gonna be no moment where you're drilling or allowing your partner, unless you're injured or you wanna do something to the side, feel free. Just know I don't support it. Outside of that, I hope you guys have fun with what I'm about to teach you, and hopefully we take away more than I expect you to, if that makes sense. So we're gonna start with our first game. Standing, we're gonna play stay seated. So we want to talk about today's class as a string or like a theory that we're going to have throughout all of it. The entire purpose of this class is going to be to focus on solving problems. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like a lot of jiu-jitsu, we're giving you the solutions without even having the problem in mind. Like, for example, everything Gianni gave was solutions to problems that we don't necessarily know we're solving yet. So he gave you some examples that are very useful, but now I'm just going to give you problems that you have to figure out how to solve on your own. So I just want to make sure you guys approach this like with a right mindset. Think about what needs to be done and try not to be asking me how it needs to be done. Because how I do something is going to be vastly different than how you do something. Instead, ask what needs to be done. So let's talk about the first game. We're calling it stay seated just for that purpose. I'm trying to stay seated. What's the problem we're trying to solve? The number one problem is mobility, or my ability to move. If Gianni starts circling around me, it's easy for me to follow him. So the first thing we want to do is make them less mobile. How do we do that? Who knows?
Put it back on the mat.
Back on the mat. Simple, right? If I get their back to the mat, my feet are up, I suddenly am having a harder time following him if I can't connect to him. Like, go ahead and circle without touching me. If he circles, then I have to do this in order to do that. So in general, person on their back, less mobile than a person who's seated. So we're trying to get them less mobile. Top player has 3 ways to win. Greg used to call this push-pull-pin. We're gonna make it very limited, but I'm gonna explain why he calls it push-pull-pin. You can push at the shoulders to get them flat on their back. You can pull or lift at the feet to get them flat on their back. Or you can pin their head down, circle to their back, and get a chest to back in order to win. Those are why he calls it push-pull-pin. We're warming up, so we're gonna make this a very limited version of that. The goal is very simple. Get your partner to their back, okay? The only restraints that the top player has, they're not allowed to make a chest to chest, meaning like you can't just dive in and get me flat with the chest to chest. You have to use your hands to lift at my feet or push at my shoulders while you're circling to get my back to the mat. The bottom player, we're trying to solve the issue of not being less mobile. So we want to think about making connections to prevent that. So if he's pushing at my shoulders, it doesn't make sense for us to address the legs. This happens all the time in jiu-jitsu. A guy's like, I got a shin on shin move I want to hit. He's pushing your shoulders, and then you get pushed to flat, and now we're here. We're not addressing the right problems because we have the solution before we address the problem. So he's trying to get me flat. Address the problem first. Let's make 2-on-1s for the purpose to stay unseated. If he steps in the middle, address the problem first before moving to whatever solution you have in mind. So, top player, you win the moment my back hits the mat. Bottom player, you have no way to win. Anytime my back hits the mat, you flip-flop top and bottom. It's for 3 minutes. It's just to warm up, and hopefully you guys get a feel of what the rest of this class is going to be like. Got it? Any questions? On 3, 1, 2. That's kind of my test to see, like I use that as a test to see who can pay attention and who follows directions. I just want to warn a lot of you that the rest of the class is going to be complicated. My bad. Thank you. Because you need to focus on a few things. I always use sports as a reference because I think it's easier for us to follow. Let's imagine I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to practice doing our layups in basketball. and then some dude shoots back to the 3 and shoots a 3-pointer. You'd be like, that guy's nuts. He's not following the rules at all. That's crazy. The game is called Stay Seated. How many of us did this? I got one crazy dude, right? There's one, there's another one. That's no longer a part of the game, right? What's the goal of the top player? Who could tell me?
Get the bottom on the
To their back, right? Gianni, let me use you. How many of y'all did this? I'm just gonna flip to your back. A bunch of people did that, right? Fought for the back. How many of you guys did this? And then tried the hold. You lost the purpose of the task. The goal is get their back to the mat. The moment this happens, it's over. If you're circling behind them, that's not the game. If you're going to your knees, you took away my ability to win the game. Does that make sense? So when we play these games, you're developing a specific skill, something that Greg says all the time, and I'm just gonna keep referring to him so no one thinks it's me, like thinking up any genius moments, is that you can't solve all the problems now. So you're like, but what if they did this? What if they did that? We're focusing on one task. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's focus on the second warm-up and see if we do better. Can I use you standing? Off the single leg X. So you're gonna use any leg entanglement you want, right? So you could put your feet at his hip. That's our #1 focus, keeping your feet as much as you can on his hip. And then the second focus is using your knees to control his knee. Okay, so 2 tasks. Keep your feet at his hip, keep your knees connected to his. What is the problem we're trying to solve as the bottom player? We're trying to get him off balance. The 2 problems we're trying to solve here is keeping his hands or his butt on the floor or preventing distance. So if he's able to close the distance, this is bad for me. That's how Gianni wins everything. If he's able to use his hands, that's a problem for me. He's able to use everything. If he stays on his feet, I probably won't be able to submit, right? It's gonna be difficult. So we have to solve these. So I want the bottom player to think of 2 things, keeping them on their hands or their hips as long as possible. So let's say I get him to his hands. If I hold it for, let's say, 3 seconds, I'll win. I say, let's say, because you and your partner can determine, my 3 is usually a little shorter than his 3, that kind of thing. So you can figure out when you consider a win. If his hips, however, touch the floor somehow, it doesn't matter. You flip-flop top and bottom, okay? Let me just get you up again. I want 2 things to be our priority, not our focus, but ways to make it easier. It's really hard to get them to their hips or to their hands if I'm not controlling the secondary leg. So as we play this game, keep your feet on their hips as long as possible. Keep your knees connected to their knees as long as possible, and find a way to engage with the secondary leg. If I want to get him to his butt but he can move his leg back, it's probably going to be hard. If I want to get him to his hands but he can move his leg forward, it's probably going to be hard. So find ways to prevent that from happening. Find ways to prevent this from happening. If you have a move in mind, feel free to use it. Use your sequence. But if you're trying to develop a new skill or challenge yourself, try to find different ways to make it happen. The biggest thing we've taken away at Bodega with this methodology, jiu-jitsu doesn't have to look a certain way. It just doesn't. And it used to look a certain way, and that's why certain metas came about. But once you get rid of the thought process of what it's supposed to look like and what the task is, it doesn't matter. You start winning. Does that make sense? Again, so starting in that position, leg entanglement, get them to their hands for 3 seconds or to their butt, instantly flip-flop top and bottom. Yeah, what's up?
So does the top person, are they just trying to stay standing? Or can they
It's a beautiful question. I'm going to get right there. I like that. We started bottom, now the top task. Yeah.
Well, for the bottom,
Yeah.
you had your foot, when you had him post on the ground, you had your foot underneath his butt.
Sure.
So when you're saying you want 1 foot on the hip, does that include it being underneath?
Let me recap all this real fast, just to make sure, because I feel like already everyone's looking for loopholes. I don't give a shit what you do. Just to be clear, do whatever you want. Use 1 foot, 2 feet, use no feet. As long as you get their hands to the floor or their butt to the floor, you're good to go. Now for the top player, their constraints, go ahead and lock up. The only thing the top player is not allowed to do is disengage. So maybe I get his feet off of me. I'm allowed to untangle their feet. I'm not allowed to move out of the position. I'm slow when I talk, so if you guys are waiting for this moment, it's coming, I promise, okay? The problem the top player is trying to defend, right? Untangling the 2 things the bottom player wants. almost always in the game, what they have to win is what we have to lose. So you flip-flop that. He wants feet at my hip. In your case, 1 or 2. It could be 2 feet at the hip. It could be 1 foot at the hip, 1 foot at the hip. It could even be no feet at the hip, right? Doesn't matter. For me, it's get his feet off you and get his knees away from your knees. Does that make sense? So for the top player, there's no way for you to win. It's continuous. The bottom player is the only one. So go ahead and play the position. Maybe I get to here. I'm literally just trying to hold and maintain this condition as long as possible. I guarantee, this is our second game, that a couple of y'all are going to get to here and then move towards them out. And that's okay, but let's focus on developing the skill of just keeping their feet off of us and their knees off of us. Does that make sense? Any questions now?
No, it's just you're in the right position.
Look at that. On 3. 1, 2, 3. And I just want to get one thing. My bad. Everyone's like, is this okay? Is that okay? Like at Bodega, it took a while for us to get used to this. I get it. It's new. It's all okay. Like, I don't care. Literally, it doesn't matter as long as you get what's asked of you done within the parameters. So, like, anything you want at all is okay as long as you're within the parameters. Lots of movement. The next games are all going to kind of follow a system that very closely follows what Gianni was showing, okay? So we're starting in the mounted. How are you bloody already? We're okay. I was like, dude, come on. We're starting in the mounted position, okay? So I'm just here in this position on Gianni. I have my arm around the head, and he's going to bring his elbow close to his body, but I am going to place my bicep and my hand on the mat, okay? Everyone sees the starting position. You can connect your hands. You can do whatever you'd like. The goal is to get Gianni's bicep to his head and then my head to the other side. Very simple, right? To that position we were in. Again, the goal is get his bicep to his head and then your head to the other side. That's where it ends. If you get that done, you win. Whether you lock up, you're in a perfect head and arm scenario, it doesn't matter to me. If I do this, bicep to the head to the other side, I win. Don't worry about how, worry about what needs to be done. Bicep to the head to the other side. The bottom player has 3 ways to win. They win if they can completely free their elbow from underneath my arm. So if he brings his elbow back to his body or his torso with nothing in between it, they win. You flip-flop top and bottom. If he becomes the top player throughout this exchange, he wins. You flip-flop top and bottom. And then lastly, if he reguards, we like to define, everyone in here trains so we can use these words. In my gym, I have like day 1, day 2 guys, they don't know what regard means, so we define it. We can define it by him wrapping his legs around me. If he wraps his legs around me, whether it's the body or the leg, he wins. Or if he's able to get his feet and knees in between us both, he wins. Does everyone understand? So just regarding for all of us that know what that is. Oh yeah, cool. Starting in the mount, hand just to be clear one more time, because I don't want people starting up here, all right? Around the head, here. And now we're going to talk just about what the problem is. What is the problem we're trying to solve? Who knows? I gave you the 3.
Isolate his arm from the center.
Boom, there's one.
Getting a guard back.
That's so we're trying to prevent him getting his guard back. That's a huge part of head and arms, right? What's the other one?
Stubborn individuals.
No, but I like that.
Reposition.
What was that?
Reposition.
No, but I like that.
Staying on top.
Staying on top. It's crazy how simple jiu-jitsu can be, but we all have like Danaher mentality. We want to destabilize at 95 degrees. No, dude. Like, stay on top. Don't let him regard. Those are the 2 problems we're really trying to solve here. Stay on top. Don't let him regard. Getting the arm across to the head happens, but it won't matter if you get the arm across the head and you're on bottom. It won't matter if he has his guard back and the arm's across the head. Does that make sense? All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. that's why I think this is so valuable, this style of training. It focuses on the stuff that people call fundamentals, but how fundamental is holding somebody down? It's like the hardest thing in the world, you know? So let's move on towards leg entanglement position. And we're gonna keep it simple. Just to be clear here, there are no submissions in this game. Okay, a lot of you have asked, like, can I submit here? No, because the purpose isn't to be good at the submissions. We're gonna play end range games, and then sure, you can have fun there. But for now, we're just developing very specific skills. So Gianni's starting with his legs perpendicular to mine, so we're gonna think of like a tic-tac-toe board. My leg closest to Gianni goes over the top, and my other leg is gonna go underneath his leg, and I can pinch my legs if I like. The way I explain things, again, I guess I'm realizing I'm just used to doing it to people who've never seen this before. If I'm like, all right, we're gonna start from cross ashi, and you're some dude who's just off the street, they're gonna be like, what is cross ashi? And then I'm like, you just do this. It's the hardest thing in the world. So I'm very deliberate with how I show the positions. So his feet are down, my leg closest to him goes over the top, my leg furthest away comes underneath, and for everyone here who knows, it's saddle, cross ashi, 411, whatever camp you decide to go, okay? What are the problems when it comes to attacking legs? I think there's a few, but the most common ones is him escaping the primary leg, right? If he's able to get his knee past my knees, is one of the major problems of finishing leg locks. So that's one problem we have to solve. What's the second problem? Him being able to rotate, expose his back to me in order to free his leg. That's probably the second problem from this position. So the two problems we have to solve. Number one, keeping control of his leg, more specifically, keeping his knee on the other side of my two knees. So what I mean is if his knee gets to the closer side, meaning closer to him, it's bad for me. So I want to, number one, think about keeping this knee on the side closest to me in between my knees and my chest. Number two, I want to think about controlling the secondary leg. Everyone in here seems like they know what's going on. So primary, the attacking leg, secondary, the control leg. So I'm trying to do two things, control this and then control the secondary leg. If you're new to leg entanglements, we leave it right there. Okay, again, I go over the attacking person's task and then the defending, so give me a break, wait for me. If I control this and you're like, I'm new to this, this is your win. If I can, in any way, hold it and he can't get it back, I'll say I won. I'm new to leg locks, that's where I'll end. Again, everyone looks pretty experienced in here, so we'll say probably need a little bit more. If that's too easy, we have two specific win conditions outside of this. So your first thing would be control the leg. In order for me to win, I can get his leg onto either shoulder and control. If I do this, I win. If I get the leg across the body, I also win. Now, why are these the win conditions? If you've seen a lot of leg finishes, they require two things to be solved. Control of the primary knee and preventing them from rolling. Anytime you see people do this, and I start attacking, he starts ensuing the roll, and then it becomes this thing, and they're gone. The higher level leg lockers, you'll always see continue to control the secondary leg as they attack. Getting it to the other side is a great way to do this because now I can attack, solving my first problem of controlling the knee and solving the problem of him rotating. Right now he goes to rotate, it's fucking impossible, dude. If I get it up to a shoulder, I'm able to get to my heel finish before he's able to rotate. So if I go here, I should have it locked up if I'm really going for a submission. If I have it on the cross body, it's even better. I can definitely attack submissions without him rotating. So that's why those are our win conditions. So if I can get this controlled, this is like we say level 1 in our gym, level 1. You're new to leg locks. I got it, this is good for me, I win. Level 2, get it up onto a shoulder any way you can or across the body in order to win. Defensively, your goal is just that, is to free your leg. Okay? The simplest way I can put it is use your free leg to free your trapped leg. So find positions you can put the bottom of your feet or your laces in order to push and pull your other leg. So as he starts to push with this leg or his arm, you can free your leg. The second thing that's very helpful is using your thumb post on either knee to help you free your leg. So these two combined are basically every escape you've ever seen, right? Dan here will go through a 90-step process where it's just push this, push that, and you get out. It's literally what it is. So again, we start from here, control the secondary leg for level 1. Get it onto either shoulder or across the body for level 2 to win. Defensively, free your knee from the knee line, you win, and you flip-flop the position. There are no submissions in either scenario. Does everyone understand? Any questions? All right, let's do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Again, just want to say thank you. Do you want to say anything? You good?
No, you're all good, man.
Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate you listening to us. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick, before you guys go, this was phenomenal.
Oh, thanks.
Phenomenal. If this was your first time doing a seminar together,
Yeah.
excellent.
Let's
it was
go.
absolutely
Yeah,
excellent.
it was good.
Thank you so much.
I don't bring a lot of people here for seminars for a couple of reasons. One, I don't really know people, so you don't know
Yeah.
what they're going to bring to the table. And then two, even if they're phenomenal at jiu-jitsu, they're not good at conveying, what they're trying to do on the mat to other people.
Yeah.
And you guys are, of course, I've come down and I've trained with you guys, so I kind of knew already what was going to be, brought. But it was fantastic. I loved the way, you broke down the techniques and then the drills and the games. Like, it was great. I got a lot out of it. I got a lot out of it.
Thank you.
So out of this seminar. And, anytime that I could get something out of it, because I don't really have a coach, I just teach all the time.
Feel that?
I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And some of the stuff that we come down and we train with you guys, I brought it here.
Thank you.
I really value what you guys think of jiu-jitsu. I think what you're doing is fantastic, and just keep up everything that you're doing, because I think you guys have something really special going on.
Yeah.
And I've been in jiu-jitsu for like 20 some odd years. So
That feels good. I love you,
yeah.
dude.
If I could give you any type of compliment.
That means a lot for real,
That would be
dude.
it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
We try really hard.
Yeah.